Aeolian Hall brings a lot of people together. I believe that there's some sort of magic in this place, and I believe that everybody that steps into Aeolian Hall for the first time will feel that magic.
The Aeolian Hall has quite a rich history in our community. It started actually back in the 1940s with a hall that burned down in the 1960s.
Clark Bryan bought the hall in 2004 and began the process of turning it over into a charitable organization. He's been able to do so much with starting El Sistema Aeolian, the Pride Men's Chorus, the Rebel Heart Collective, and again really raising that culture of excellence in East London.
I decided to launch a UNESCO and TED award-winning program called El Sistema here at the Hall. Wasn't sure if it was going to work in this community, but it's a free after-school music program for kids who would not normally have the opportunity to have an enriched music program.
A program like El Sistema has a huge impact on the youth in that it gives them confidence and it gives them the tools necessary to escape the poverty, whichever kind of poverty they're facing in all its different forms.
It's fun and very collaborative sometimes. People provide you a lot here.
I wanted to join because I really never got to be in programs like this because of my disabilities.
We have a wide range of socioeconomic backgrounds among our participants, so we have the opportunity for kids all over London from different backgrounds and ethnicities and family backgrounds to be able to be part of a team together without any of those barriers you might see with other traditional organizations.
Music to me is mostly my life because I love listening to it, and so joining this program made it better for me.
I already know 2 instruments. Wait, make that 3 because I know a bit of piano, violin, and a bit of recorder.
Some of the children are from refugee situations or they're immigrants. Just being around them and the joy that they have and learning from them has really, for me, been a personal growth.
Everything that I see in our programming, our education programs, is all about giving opportunities for people to be inspired and get different perspectives through art and culture. We launched Pride Men's Chorus London, what would normally be called a gay men's chorus in the rest of the world. We decided to open it up to men of all gender identifications. Its purpose is to enjoy music and through the experience of performance help open minds and hearts.
Clark and I just thought it would be a really good social experience for the kids to work together with Pride Men's Chorus. We first had that experience when we had a concert with Matt Albert and the men's chorus was singing backup.
The idea of the synergy between the men, many of whom were ostracized when they came out of the closet as gay men, and many of the children in our program, actually many don't have parents. So the idea of coupling up that socially has been a really remarkable thing for me, and we've already heard feedback about it and how it's positively impacting lives.
As soon as we heard and saw what potential that had, we said we got to do this more often. So we have done it twice since. When people perform music in a group, it's more than just music. It's also a group expression.
Aeolian Hall is unique in what it offers to London in terms of the arts and culture, in terms of what it is doing within Old East Village, but also the greater community.
The musical productions are structured with a view to try to make music accessible to everyone, different kinds of music accessible to everyone. So there's jazz, there's classical, there's roots, there's contemporary, there's singer-songwriter. There are all these different facets of this great field of music, and we try and bring some of each into the Aeolian because they each have kind of their own demographic and their own audience.
We launched a new professional orchestra called Rebel Heart Collective, trying to change the lens on classical music and the access point to classical music.
I don't think we should distinguish between classical music and other kinds of music. I think that there's some barriers that are artificial that shouldn't be there. I know that the experience I have of teaching, I've been teaching for a long time, that I have students who say to me that music's made them a better person.
Being a classical pianist and coming from that tradition, I really believe that serious changes need to happen because it is still very much held in the hands of the elite in our society, which was never the intention.
Aeolian Hall is a really professional venue from the way that it's run, the ticket sales, the people that come here, they're all here to listen to music. They're music lovers. So for me, I always get the most nervous when I play here at Aeolian Hall because I feel like as soon as I step onto the stage, the people here are here for a show.
There is a kind of magical resonance to the place, and the moment you first make a note of music, it just rings through the hall in this magical way. And you know right away it's going to be an amazing concert. I hope Aeolian Hall is around for hundreds and hundreds of years. I think it's well on its way. I hope they keep the doors open and keep the music flowing because what they're doing there is very, very special. And I can't wait to see what's next.
So I sort of knew what I wanted from a performance hall, and when I walked into this space, I knew this is where I wanted our very first show to play.
You know, singing and making music is really important to me, but it's not all that music is about. It's about getting together.
When I play here, it always feels like I'm with friends. The hall itself is almost like a person to me.
There are all these facets in the Aeolian that are kind of bubbling away, and it's so different than most venues that you would see in terms of what they do. Here it's really limitless. It's a community in itself.
So I've never had a life without music. I can't imagine what that would be like. The hall is wonderful, the volunteers are fantastic, the people that are behind the scene, the ones that are working so hard at the bar, selling tickets.
The volunteer experience here is amazing. It's like extended family. Meet nice people and you become friends with lots of them.
We couldn't survive without the volunteers. The volunteers are the core of Aeolian and El Sistema. There's very few paid positions, so we really rely on the volunteers to do all the other jobs and make the hall run.
This place has a long history of being the center of its community, and I think because of Clark and the people that work here and volunteer here, it continues to have that role in this community.
The Aeolian Hall, it needs volunteers because it's a community centre, a focal point. It needs people who believe in what's happening.
Aeolian has grown in that when I first came, there probably were, maybe half a dozen, 10 shows in a month. Now, some months we can have a show 5-6 nights a week.
The future of Aeolian Hall, in my vision, is strong and bright, and it continues to grow more and more as a place where people come to have their soul nurtured in the performances that they experience.
I feel that we're an organization that's open to change and experimentation and risk-taking. Every program we've launched here, every step we've taken, we've never had the money to do it. Unfortunately, the majority of the world does not work that way. The majority of the world is paralyzed in fear and is not willing to take risks. So we hope to set an example of achievement through risk-taking as a really important role that it's maybe not one that people think of first and foremost, but the story of the Aeolian is basically against the odds.
If somebody is doing something good and it works and it's the right thing for the community, you can't not support it.
It's all about values in the end. It's all about who we are as people We sometimes lose sight of where we're going, who we are, what we believe. And if the Aeolian can act as a catalyst to remind us of that, that is really in my heart to be at the foundation level for what we do here. Genevieve, it's so great to have you here.
It's so good to be here tonight.
And like just to bring the stage alive during this time period, it's a gift, really.
It's amazing. For me too. It's so nice to be back on stage.
Oh, I can't imagine. So when's the last time you performed?
So the last time I performed would have been in March 7th to be exact. I was in Ottawa, and I actually performed at the Inspire Awards, which is an Indigenous-based award show, highlighting, people from all walks of life. So that was the last time I actually performed.
Oh my goodness.
So it's been a while.
Yeah, what is that, about 8 months or 7 months or something?
And, of course, I'm doing at-home performances, Instagram lives, Facebook lives, but it's not the same, as I'm sure you can understand.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's, I've been actually doing performances every night myself. I'm a classical pianist, you probably know, and I've just been trying to learn a piece a day and get it up there just to keep people, trying to keep their spirits up, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Music does that.
So tell me about your journey into music. I'm really curious to know how you got started.
So I usually like to start at the very beginning. So I was 2 years old, and my Nana and my mom entered me into a singing competition at the Ilderton Fair. And I sang "You Are My Sunshine," and I took home first place that night. I was about this big up on stage. And
do you have pictures?
I have video footage.
Video! Oh, you're that generation. There's no video of
There's
me
like
playing at that age.
VHS video.
Wow.
But that's how, honestly, my music got started. Every year I continued to compete. So all throughout my young life, I competed in competitions. I took vocal lessons. And I loved being on stage.
Wow.
That's how it kind of all got started. And then at the age of 16 is when I started to take it more seriously. And I started thinking this could really maybe be a career path for me, being a professional artist or performer. And that's, a couple of years later, I started to go down to Nashville and record and write, and it just kind of blossomed from there.
So you were in high school and you decided.
Yeah.
Right? And so what was that like for you? Because I can tell you my own story just briefly. Like, I was done with high school because I knew what I wanted to do. And my dad was the principal, so it was just really, I had to finish, right?
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Just high school dropout.
Yeah, exactly. So, what was it like for you to know that young? Because a lot of young people have no clue what they want to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not going to lie, I did struggle sometimes. Emotionally, I would say, struggled because I knew that I wanted to pursue music. And of course, being in like the country music industry, any industry is hard to be in, but I find the music industry especially is very hard to be in sometimes.
Tell me about it. Front end and back, right? Like And, my parents were very adamant about me
getting my education. So, you know, I finished high school. I did go on to university. I studied at Western University. I majored in pop music and minored in First Nation studies. So I got my degree. So at that point, I felt like, okay, weight off my shoulders. I've done it. Now I can really, you know, focus on my music. But even throughout university, I felt so pulled in different directions because I knew how badly I wanted to pursue music, but I also knew how important it was to get my education. So once I was done university, I did feel a bit of a sigh of relief that now I can actually focus on my music.
Wow. And so then what?
So, interesting story. Like we were just saying, the music industry is hard. Financially, it can be difficult, and I kind of went through a phase where I thought, okay, music's not bringing in the income that I need. I'm an adult now, and I need to adult, yes. Meaning I should probably get, you know, a job as well to, you know, also support my music. So I worked at Western University for about 4 years. I worked at Indigenous Services, where we were basically a support for Indigenous students coming to the university.
Oh, wow.
And I loved my job, but again, I was back at that. My heart was in like 2 different places, and I felt like I wasn't giving it my all to my music. And I had a moment of, I'm still so young, and I feel like in 10 years from now, am I going to look back and regret that I didn't just put every ounce of my being into my music? And so I left my job at Western, and I thought, I'm doing it. I'm putting it all on the line. I'm going to give it my all. And so I just continued to write. And I released a song back in 2017 called Take It On Home to Canadian Country Radio. And I should mention, I'm an independent artist. I'm a female artist. And
stay that way, by the way.
I will.
Don't get into that machinery. You'll see pennies.
Yes. So I released a song called Take It On Home, and it ended up hitting top 20 in Canada. So for me as an independent female artist, that was huge because that's almost kind of unheard of right now. So that was a huge milestone, and it opened a lot of doors for me. So I feel like I've made a name for myself in Canada. I'm still, you know, working to try to like creep my way to the top, but I've always said that I want to look back and know that I worked my tail off to get to where I am. I never want to look and say, I knew so-and-so or so-and-so helped me get there. I want to be able to say, I did this.
Wow.
That's important to me.
That's such a great story. So, you've been on the stage before.
Yes, I love this stage.
Oh, I love this stage too. I don't, you know, aside from these interviews, I don't remember the last time I've played. Well, I guess I did a little recording for a backtrack on our men's course, but it's a special place. And I think people like yourself have made it that way.
Yes.
Like it's brought in all the community energy, right? All the good energy for the future. So what about right now? Like we're in this weird time.
I know. You know, it's been tough. It's been a tough almost year. Literally, we're going to be coming up to a year of being in this pandemic. It's been hard not being able to do live performances and being in front of an audience, not being able to go to Nashville to do my writing. I feel like it's not that I'm not inspired when I'm here, but when I'm in Nashville, in the heart of country music, I feel like I draw a lot of inspiration while I'm there. So it's been tough because that's also a huge part of my job, traveling and writing and recording and touring. So it was tough. I'm not going to lie, the first, couple months, March, April, May of the pandemic, were kind of hard hitting. I felt like my husband can attest to this, that I had some really bad days where I would just start crying and say, like, what am I doing? What's happening? What's going to happen to my career? Are people going to forget about me? How do I stay relevant? And tonight was actually my first time really ever playing the piano for myself.
Wow.
Yeah, I was scared. I was like, don't mess up, don't mess up. But
I say that all the time, by the way, and that's all I've done my whole life.
But I'm so used to, when I'm, pre-pandemic, I'm so used to always being with my band and just having the microphone in front of me and, working the stage. So during this whole pandemic, I thought, okay, I need to do something because we're stuck at home and I don't see things changing for a long time. So I thought, I'm going to start sitting down at the piano every day and I'm going to start learning cover songs. I'm going to start learning my own original songs just so I can get confident with my playing. I had my grade 6 piano. I needed it for my university.
Of course,
program.
yes, yeah.
So, I know how to play piano, but it just kind of went to the back burner because I had a band and I didn't need to play piano anymore. So one thing I will say is, being in quarantine and COVID and all that, I got to hone in on my craft of piano and relearn things. And it taught me a lot about myself as an artist, recording from home, trying to teach myself how to use recording programs. And I'm not techie at all. So again, that was kind of scary for me. But it's been a learning curve for sure. And then I got pregnant during the pandemic.
Congratulations. That's
Thank
so
you.
amazing.
So I'm like, wow, what else is life going to throw at us? But it's been a challenging year. And, even being a female in the music industry and getting pregnant, you start to worry, are people still going to care?
It's still a woman in a man's world, isn't it? In so many ways. I worked with this French pianist forever, and she was she was a prize winner in the very first Van Cliburn competition. She's now retired and in her 80s, but she told me all about what it was like to be a woman in the music industry and how managers wouldn't pick you up because they thought you're going to get pregnant and then you're going to stop your career and they won't be able to make as much money. And
I know.
It's
like,
has it changed?
I would say it definitely has changed. I mean, there was this whole thing that happened a couple years ago where someone out of, I think, Nashville had referred to women as tomatoes, like female artists as tomatoes in the music industry. And it caused, an uproar with female artists. And, if you still listen to Canadian or both Canadian and American radio, specifically, I'm going to say country, you hear a lot of male artists. And I think that things are changing and that women are trying to really stand their ground
So you say that, right? And I have a friend who's a 2-time Grammy winner. He lives in Portland and he's a singer-songwriter.
Okay.
And he loves country and he writes stuff like that. But he says, I'm gay, therefore I can't be a country artist, right? Like, so female, gay, like,
it's
what's
crazy.
their list, right?
Yeah. And I mean, even like the types of songs that are released, it's like, it's just, I could talk about this for days, but like men can release certain songs, but if a female were to release it, it would be like faux pas, right? So it's been tough and it's been a learning experience in trying to figure out what the best songs are to release. And, I've had times too where I feel like I'm so passionate about sort of this old school country sound, like Patsy Cline and Brenda Lee. And I want that real country sound in my songs, but we've had feedback before where I did have a very country sounding song and they were like, ooh, no, that's
not what the industry wants right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's tough because you're trying to stay true to who you are as an artist, but you're sort of not because you're trying to fit in to the mainstream.
So I have a friend, Stefan Macchio, who wrote the song A New Day for Celine Dion.
Yep.
And if you hear the studio versions up to the time where it's been released, it was very folky. And they wanted to put this rock beat behind it.
Yep.
And he said after that, it's not mine anymore.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The industry wants it this way. And
I know.
it's like a prostitution almost, right? Like,
That is like the perfect way, really, to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got to make some change. And, you know, I cannot not do this interview and talk to you about something else that I know is really part of who you are.
Yeah.
And I know that you have Indigenous blood, right?
I do.
So we're living in a time right now where I think there's so much contrast, right? You've got people who are so progressive and forward thinking, and people who are so stuck in this old time and model and way of thinking.
Yeah.
Tell me about what it's been like to be Indigenous during this time period, and if there's any how that relates to your music.
For sure. So I did not grow up on the reserve, neither did my father, and neither did my grandfather. My great-grandmother actually moved off of the reserve with her children so that they didn't go to residential schools. And my great-grandmother did go to residential school, and, you know, based on what some of my family members have said, that she did have actually a positive experience at residential schools. And, you know, you do hear that some people had positive experience and others not so much. But for me, growing up, I always felt very disconnected from my culture. And as you can imagine, you know, we're in a time where it's very focused on Black Lives Matter and Indigenous lives. And growing up, I feel like I did have shame in being Indigenous because there was a stigma. And I think because I wasn't connected to my culture, I wasn't confident in who I was as an Indigenous woman because I felt like I didn't have a place to say because I didn't grow up in the reserve and I didn't really know much about my family history. And it wasn't until I went to university that I decided to minor in First Nations studies that I really started to say, hang on here, I need to be proud of who I am, because our culture is beautiful, our history is beautiful, and we were the first peoples here.
And the wisdom from the teachings, and like the eighth fire prophecy, all of the stuff that's so relevant to our times, right? I mean, if we would just listen.
I know, and being able to you know, talk to elders and you know, even when I worked at Indigenous Services, like the support from my colleagues and from the elders that would come in, you know, it was such a sigh of relief to hear them say, like, it's okay that you felt shame. A lot of people have gone through that. And it's, you know, I took time in all those years to find a way to actually feel connected again to who I am as an Indigenous woman. And I mean, my community is amazing. I'm from Chippewas of the Thames First Nation, which is just outside of London. And they have been such a huge support of my artistry. And there's so many things that I probably wouldn't have been able to accomplish in my career without them.
Wow.
So I owe a lot of thanks to my community.
So I'm going to go to a little controversial piece related to this.
Okay.
Let's talk about the Junos and the Indigenous category.
Okay.
So there are those who say that there shouldn't be that category. That you know, Indigenous people should be part of all of the other categories. That it's just kind of like pushing them into a little box. Right. What do you think about that?
I have mixed feelings about it. I think that because we are such a huge part of Canada, that I think it's wonderful that it's highlighted. Right. But again, do we go back to, like, why are we being put, like, oh, they need a separate category because do people feel like we can't compete with mainstream? I don't know.
So being from the LGBTQ community,
Yeah.
you know, we still have Pride.
Yeah.
We have a choir here that is open to people of LGBTQ
Yep.
plus identities. And some people ask me, why do you need that?
Right.
And I say, because we won the war, but we didn't fight the battle. Like,
Right.
to change all the minds and
For
hearts,
sure.
right? And I feel like there is that kind of contrast right now with this issue, right?
Yeah.
It's really important to foster and to celebrate Indigenous culture, and at the same time, we want to look to a time where we're past all of this, prejudice, really.
Yeah.
Right. And if we look around the world right now, we're a long ways away.
I was just about to say that. I don't know if we're really there yet.
In Canada, do you think there's any complacency with that? Like, we've got all the charter, we've got everything in place, we're good. Canadians we've won everything.
I don't know, because I still feel like there's people who need a lot more education.
Yeah.
Mindsets, old school way of thinking, like you kind of said a little while ago. And I don't know, it's I don't know. It's such a hard topic.
It is.
It really is, because, you're going to have these, younger generations that know that we accept everybody. But then there's the older generations that it's hard to get through to them, and they're going to think the way that they think.
And a lot of them are still in places of power, right?
Exactly.
This is some of the challenge we have.
Exactly.
I think for me, what strikes me is, we've seen erosion of values and rights in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I think in Canada we are so very lucky, and
We
we
are.
are working forward. Where I think we have so far to go on things like Indigenous challenges with the history that we have.
Yeah.
But we need to work really hard right now to fight to preserve what we have, right?
Absolutely.
And not lose it, because a few governments in power, the like conservative kind of right-wing governments, and they can undo the charter, right?
Yeah.
Like, anyway, I digress. I want to talk about so right now we are still in the pandemic.
Yeah.
You're about to give birth sometime in the
Yes.
future.
Yes.
And you'll have quite the stories to tell this young person
Absolutely.
someday
Yep.
about this time period. So do you have any particular projects? Like, are you working on a new album or some new songs?
So I actually right now have a song out with a fellow Canadian artist. His name is David James. He's from Winnipeg. And he is signed with MDM, which is a label, an independent label here in Canada. And they reached out to me back in, let me get my bearings straight, August, September. And they said, David has a song, and we feel like it just needs something. And we thought about you, to do a duet with him for this song.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, wow, I'm flattered that you thought of me. So I said, why not? Let's do it. So from home, I recorded my vocals. The producer was based in Vancouver. And he was giving me feedback, telling me what to do on my end. So it was really cool. That's one project that I took on during the pandemic. And actually this week, so we released a song in September. Flash forward to this week, it's actually the #1 downloaded song at Canadian Country Radio right now.
Wow.
So that was super exciting. Thank you. But it's been an interesting time, because I am trying to take on projects to keep myself busy so that I stay sane and that I feel like I'm, what's the word I'm looking for? that I'm still worthy of something, because it's hard to be stuck at home and not being able to do what I would normally do. But I also just finished recording vocals for a brand new single that I plan to release in the new year. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, just trying to do as much writing as I can with friends here in Canada and in Nashville over Zoom, which has been interesting as well, but it's worked. I've written some really cool songs. But those are some projects that I've, taken on.
Oh, that's so inspiring to hear that you're doing that. I want to sort of finish up with, the challenges that the music industry and artists and anybody in the arts or even service industries are going through right now.
Absolutely.
Do you have any advice for people who are, just wondering if this music business is for them?
I know.
You want a job that's COVID-proof from now on, that kind of thing?
I know. I mean, one piece of advice that I would say is go with your gut. I'm very firm about that. Sometimes we have to do what we have to do, and especially in a time like this. I mean, for me, I've always said, and my husband and I have had lots of conversations about the fact that if I'm ever in a spot where I look at what I'm doing and say, okay, you know what, this isn't working, I maybe need to find something else, then I think I'm giving myself permission that, this maybe isn't working. Not to say to give up on what I'm doing, but sometimes we have to go with the,
I'm a sailor, so tack the other way, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, as difficult as it might be, sometimes, like I said, we got to do what we got to do, but never let go of your passion. Even if maybe it's not something that you're taking on full force, I'm also very firm believer to still do what you love. You may have to take a little bit of a different route, but always make sure that passion is still at the forefront. I guess that would be my
That's
little bit of advice.
and you're such a great role model, because I really feel if the world would be a different place if people really did buy into following their dream and passion, right?
You'd be happier.
Yes, instead of selling out to the system and the expectations of the system, right?
For sure.
Or others. Yeah. Thank you so much for this time.
Thank you.
And I'm so looking forward to sharing this music of yours with our virtual audiences all around.
I know.
And I can't wait to hear it myself. So thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you the very best and can't wait for you to be back on the stage again soon.
Me too.
Hopefully with an audience.
I know. I know.
Thanks, Genevieve.
Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. It feels very weird to be on a stage right now. I think that this is maybe my second time that I've been on stage since this whole pandemic started. So it feels really, really nice to be here with all of you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Genevieve Fisher, and this is one of my favorite venues to play in London. It's an honor to be here, and I can't wait to play some brand new music for all of you. This first song that I'm going to sing for you is called Bottom of It, and I co-wrote this song with my good friend Jennifer Schott in Nashville back in February of 2020, and that was actually my last trip to Nashville before the whole pandemic hit. But I just love this song. I love the story that it tells, and I hope you guys love it as much as I do.
I see you looking at the bottle. You ain't gonna find me in the bottom of it. I know that it's your only way of getting over us. I wish that you would put it down, but I know you won't until it's gone. the ground, trying to figure this out. But baby, we can't get to the bottom of it. And I hate that we can't get to the bottom of it. A suitcase sitting by the door, I put a picture in the bottom of it. Now that the show is finally over, there ain't no reason I should stay. Watching our love just slip away, baby, down, down we go. We've been digging a hole, 'cause when the hurt's this deep, we can't keep running from it. Dug our heels in the ground, trying to figure this out. But baby, we can't get to the bottom of it. Oh, and I hate that we can't get to the bottom of it. I should stay, watching our love just slip away, baby, down, down we go. We've been digging a hole, 'cause when the hurt's this deep, we can't keep running from it. Oh, dug our heels in the ground, trying to figure this out. To the bottom of it. Oh, and I hate that we can't get to the bottom of it. Ooh, no, we're never gonna get to the bottom of it.
Thank you all so much. Well, this next song that I'm going to sing for you is a very, very special song. So I co-wrote this song with my good friend Jeff Cohen in Nashville back in 2017. And I had gone into our writing session with the song title, 1943. And that's the year that my Nana was born. I'm very close with my Nana. She comes to every show, and she has just been such a huge part of my career. So I really, really wanted to write a song for her because she's just an amazing person. She's just always positive. She doesn't have a bad bone in her body. She loves everybody. And I know that she didn't have the easiest life, and I just wanted to pay tribute to her. So this is called 1943.
Sitting in the kitchen, the stories you tell, part of me sees a part of you in myself. I can't help but listen and wonder out loud about the hard life that led you to now. If I could go back then, wish I could see you when, oh, you came into the world as a little girl who knew that little girl would mean the world to me. If I could travel in time and see through your eyes, I'd see you never complained a day in your life. 4 kids and a dog, a husband on the road. You were left to carry the load. If I could go back then, wish I could see you when, oh, you came into the world as a little girl who knew that little girl would mean the world to me. Back in 1943, working long days and longer nights. You never gave up the good fight. If I could go back there, wish I could see you then. Oh, you came into the world as a little girl who knew that little girl would mean the world to me. Back in 1943.
Thank you so much. So as you can imagine, this whole pandemic has had quite an impact on the music industry. All of my shows throughout the summer were canceled. I had tours planned. Obviously, I usually have trips to Nashville planned to do some writing. So a lot has been different, virtually, just like we're doing right now. So I started to actually do some Zoom writes with friends of mine in Nashville and here in Canada. And just a few weeks ago, me and my good friend Jennifer Schott, I've been writing with Jennifer for about 10 years now. We got together over Zoom, and I had this idea to write a song about my husband and I and the fact that we've almost been together for 10 years, which seems so crazy. And I have a baby on the way right now, as you can probably maybe see. I don't know if you can see my belly right now, but it's getting a lot harder to sing, I've realized. But just so much has happened in the 10 years that we've been together, and I wanted to write a song about it. So I hope you guys love the song as much as I do. This is called 10 Years Ago.
Found a picture of us from back in the day. Your arms were wrapped around me and I was on my tiptoes. Got me thinking about the plans that we made. Blink of an eye, waited all the time. Oh, it feels just like yesterday. I saw your face across the bar, had to know your name. I remember the drinks, remember the song the band was playing when you took my hand. Didn't know it yet, what was up ahead, how we would play out in the end. Just a guy and a girl dancing in the neon glow. 10 years ago. 10 years ago. All the memories come rushing back in. It's bittersweet 'cause it's gone by so quickly. still going strong. Times are rolling on, and when you kiss me, it feels just like yesterday. I saw your face across the bar, had to know your name. I remember the drinks, remember the song the band was playing when you took my hand. Didn't know it yet, what was up ahead, how we would play out in the end. Just a guy and a girl dancing in the neon glow. 10 years ago, 10 years ago. I have a feeling that time won't slow down. I have a feeling that 10 years from now, it'll feel just like yesterday. I saw your face across the bar, had to know your name. I remember the drinks, remember the song the band was playing when you took my hand. Didn't know it yet, what was up ahead, how we would play out in the end. Just a guy and a girl dancing in the neon glow. 10 years ago, 10 years ago. Found a picture of us from back in the day. Ten years ago.
Thank you, guys. So, growing up, one of my biggest idols was Shania Twain. I used to listen to her music at my Nana's house. I had her CDs, her cassettes, her CDs. I've just always loved Shania Twain, always looked up to her. She's an amazing vocalist and just performer. So I thought I would do one of my favorite Shania Twain songs. This is called You're Still the One.
Looks like we made it. Look how far we've come, my baby. The night it took the long way. We knew we'd get there someday. They said, I bet they'll never make it, but just to look at us holding on. We're still together, still going strong. You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life. You're still the one that I love, the only one I dream of. You're still the one I kiss goodnight. Ain't nothing better. We beat the odds together. I'm glad we didn't listen. Look at what we would be missing. They say, I bet they'll never make it, but just to look at us holding on. We're still together, still going strong. You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life. You're still the one that I love, the only one I dream of. You're still the one I kiss good night. You're still the one. You're still the one. You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life, yeah. You're still the one that I love, the only one I dream of. You're still the one I kiss good night. I'm so glad we made it. Look how far we've come, my baby.
Thank you so much, everybody. Well, I hope everyone has been staying sane, first of all, and safe, being at home, and continuing to wear your mask to keep yourself and everyone else safe. This has just been such a crazy year, and I'm really hoping that next year things can somewhat go back to normal, because I would love to actually be in front of a live audience again, and see everyone's beautiful faces. So the next song I'm going to do is several years ago now that I wrote this song. I think I wrote this back in 2014, maybe. Again, I wrote the song with my friend Jennifer Schott. I'm singing a lot of songs that her and I have written together tonight. But the song is called Young in a Small Town, and it basically just talks about this couple who hopes that they can forever kind of stay in that little bubble they're in, of being young in a small town and being in love.
Windows down and four wheels roll. Yeah, it's like we own these old dirt roads. Out here dreaming and driving, I feel your hand sliding in my hand as the song sings still. We'll light up this town. You're my Friday night, I'm your shotgun ride. Baby, I never felt more alive. And when we linger in the kiss, just take it in, take it in. Days fly by and sunsets fade. Promise me they will always stay how we are right now. Young in a small town, radio on in the moonlight. We hang a left down county line. There's a piece of land we'll settle down someday, but we drive on, 'cause baby we're chasing our freedom down. Living here in the moment now. You're my Friday night, I'm your shotgun ride. Baby, I never felt more alive. And when we linger in the kiss, take it in, take it in. Days fly by and sunsets fade. Promise me they will always stay how we are right now. Young in a small town. Baby, just pull me in. Let me just soak it in. You're my Friday night, I'm your shotgun ride. Baby, I never felt more alive. And when we linger in the kiss, just take it in, take it in. Days fly by and sunsets fade. Promise me they will always stay how we are right now. Just how we are right now. Young in a small town. Young in a small town. Young in a small town.
Thank you. Well, I have to say over and over again, this feels amazing to be on a stage with lights and a microphone. Usually when I do lives on Instagram or Facebook right now, I'm not using a mic and I'm just using my little electric keyboard. So this feels so nice right now. And I should actually mention, this is my first time actually playing piano for myself. During the pandemic, I really started to sit down at the piano and just hone in on my craft of piano. I stopped playing for quite a few years, and it feels really, really nice to be playing again. So yeah, the pandemic has challenged me in several ways and taught me a lot about myself as an artist. So one of my favorite artists right now, I love her voice, I love her songwriting. She's just a really, really cool artist. She's American. Her name is Maren Morris. She's just a phenomenal artist, and tonight I wanted to play a song of hers that I love that's off of her last album called Girl. The whole album is phenomenal, but this song for me, I just love it. It's called Shade.
I was mixed up in the shadows casting over me. Blend into the background as someone else's dream. Then I got your light, then I got your glow. Didn't do my job, but you changed my tone. Now I'm illuminated, and you're all I see. Baby, baby, you're my color, custom made. Think I finally discovered you're my perfect shade. I stand out like neon on the darkest night. Everything looks clearer looking in your eyes. It could be the fall, it could the spring. Baby, you look good with everything. I've tried other designs and boy, you fit just right. Baby, baby, you're my color, custom made. Think I finally discovered you're my perfect shade. Shades of green, shades of gold. I don't need another rainbow. Shades of me, shades of you. You're the prism that I see through, baby, baby. You're my color, custom made. Think I finally discovered you're my perfect shade. You're my perfect shade, yeah. Baby, baby, you're my color, custom made. Think I finally discovered you're my perfect shade. You're my perfect shade. You're my perfect shade.
Thank you guys so much. Well, I have one more song for you all tonight. Again, this is actually a song that I wrote earlier on when we were fully locked down back in end of March, maybe beginning of April. Again, me and my friend Jennifer Schott did a Zoom write, and I remember I was sitting in my office, and I feel like I was going through a bit of a blah phase, I'll call it. Just not being able to really perform. I didn't really have any inspiration. I was stuck at home. But anyways, I was sitting in my office and I looked across from me on my desk, and I had my good friend's wedding save the date sort of invitation. And I said to Jen, I was like, what if we write a fun song called Save the Date? And she's like, I love it. Let's roll with it. So this is another song that I wrote during this whole pandemic. This is called Save the Date.
It's been a fun night with some good drinks and conversation under the string lights, making me feel like I'm on vacation. I'm really glad that we met, and if you think you wanna do this again, I'll save the date, I'll make some time. Let me know, and if you want, I'll bring the wine. I'm always down, so hit me up. I'm never gonna say no to a little fun. I like your vibe, it's feeling like there's something going on between us tonight. And now we got some more plans to make. I'll save the date. To be continued, cause we barely just scratched the surface. Baby, me and you. Yeah, I'm thinking that it's gonna be worth it. I'll save the date, I'll make some time. Let me know, and if you want, I'll bring the wine. I'm always down, so hit me up. I'm never gonna say no to a little fun. I like your vibe, it's feeling like glad that we met. And if you think you wanna do this again, I'll save the date, I'll make some time. Let me know, and if you want, I'll bring the wine. I'm always down, so hit me up. I'm never gonna say no to a little fun. I like your vibe, it's feeling like there's something going on between us tonight. And now we got some more plans to make. I'll save the date. And now we got some more plans to make. I'll save the date. I'll save the date.
Well, everyone, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed my show and really my first time performing live on the piano. So thank you guys so much.